Good morning, ladies and gentlemen and members. Thank you for attending today. This is the Health Committee hearing, and the reason that we are here today is it is a public hearing on the CBD impact on the medical marijuana program. But in fact, I'm sure all of us, people across the state of Pennsylvania, have seen the CBD oil on the shelf and other products, and many of us, including legislators, do not fully understand the effects of the CBD oil. We do know that through the Farm Bill of 2018, the U.S. Farm Bill, that we are seeing more and more products of the CBD. So we're really here today to gather information, the committee. So I welcome all of you members. Thank you for being here, and members of the public. The meeting is being recorded, and I believe it is also live streaming. So if you would please at this time make sure that your cell phone is silenced. And at this time, we will introduce ourselves, the members. I am State Representative Kathy Rapp, and I chair the Health Committee. Thank you, members. I also recognize Representative Russ Diamond, who is not a member of the Health Committee, but I'm assuming you are here because this is of interest to you. So thank you for attending, sir. We appreciate it. So at this point in time, we have two panels today, and thank you to our panels who are willing to provide us with information. So, and at this point in time, the committee is really not looking at any legislation, but it is a topic that we want to inform ourselves on. So the information that you provide us is really informative to us and to the public and whoever is looking in on the informational hearing today. So first on the agenda is Dr. Rachel Levine, our Secretary of Health. We are honored to have you here today to provide us with information. I'll go ahead and introduce Natalie Kirk, who is the Policy Director with the Department of Agriculture, and Fred Strathmeyer, who's the Deputy Secretary with the Department of Agriculture. And at this point in time, Dr. Levine, if you'd like to begin.
Thank you.
And we will open this to questions at this time. Secretary Levine, there are 23 categories, illnesses, diseases, which we allow to be treated by medical marijuana. Mm-hmm. And included in that would be, children under 18. Do you have any concerns with the cannabis oil being treated without as a treatment for our youth under 18? Mm-hmm. What are the safeguards?
Sure.
And are there safeguards that you think that we need to look at that maybe aren't there right now for our minors?
So we have taken a very close look at the conditions, at the amount of young people under 18 for which medical marijuana is being recommended, and the conditions for which they're being recommended. There is really limited use of medical marijuana for children under 18, but there are some specific indications. One of the indications that was really served as the basis for much of the advocacy to the legislature for medical marijuana is use for children with intractable seizures and epilepsy. There are two specific conditions, Lennox-Gastaut syndrome and Dravet syndrome, but there are others actually with children with absolutely intractable seizures that are not able to be treated with other conditions for which CBD-rich medical marijuana, which is different than the CBD in these hemp-derived products, can have significant utility. And so one of the conditions for which medical marijuana is being recommended are those children. Another condition approved by the legislature for which medical marijuana is being recommended for children is autism. There is less research about medical marijuana in autism, but there is research. There's actually some very promising research that was done, more observational research by the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia and some of their experts about medical marijuana with autism. But certainly more research is necessary, and we're advocating that through our Chapter 20 program and the academic clinical research centers that we are encouraging people to be doing, children's hospitals to be doing that research associated with the academic centers. Other conditions, there are a small number of children with cancer for which medical marijuana being is recommended, primarily teenagers who might have either problems in terms of their appetite in eating, cachexia, or nausea and vomiting associated with chemotherapy with cancer. And there are some teenagers, not young children, but teenagers for which medical marijuana is being recommended for particularly PTSD, and then a small number for anxiety. As I approved, and PTSD, of course, was approved by the legislature, cancer approved by the legislature, autism, and of course those children with seizures. I did approve anxiety disorder as one of the conditions that was recommended to the board according to the system that we have set up to the Medical Marijuana Advisory Board for new conditions, and then examined by our medical subcommittee, and then approved by the board, recommended to me, and then last year, after a lot of research, I did approve anxiety. My caution was that I thought that in some provisos to anxiety was that it is, the literature suggests that CBD-rich compounds, not the hemp compounds, but in the medical marijuana program, have shown a promise for anxiety, and that I thought the indications for young people under 18 were very limited for anxiety, and I made the point that this should not be done as a first-line treatment, that it would really be recommended after other more traditional medications were considered, but then also not as a replacement for counseling and therapy. So those were some of the guidelines. They're not. There's not in guidelines that I can enforce. Those were my recommendations. The other thing that the Medical Marijuana Advisory Committee recommended to me that I have put on hold is that medical marijuana should be recommended by for young people under 18 by pediatricians or by other pediatric specialists. I haven't implemented that because we don't have enough pediatric specialists that are part of the program, so that there wouldn't be a health equity issue in terms of geography. So we don't have enough pediatric specialists in either neurology, pediatricians, adolescent medicine, child psychiatry that have participated, that it wouldn't serve as a significant limitation to the public. But I would like to do that if we can get more pediatricians to register for the program.
Just one follow-up, since you mentioned pediatricians. So having said that, then I'm just assuming that there are pediatricians across the state who are prescribing medical marijuana and possibly CBD oil for their minor patients.
Yes, there are. Of course, we don't prescribe medical marijuana. You certify a patient as having the condition and approve them in the program. But yes, there are pediatricians in the program or pediatric specialists that are part of the program, but not enough for me to limit it for young people to pediatric specialists, in my opinion, because it's not throughout the state. It's only really particularly located in, of course, our big cities.
Thank you. I do have a question. Just looking over briefly with the article from February of 2019, which is pretty recent, and the National Institute of Health supported that, and of course, NIH is in the news, quite a bit lately. Yes, sir. And for the members, that is at the very back of the testimony. So is there ongoing research after this research project? Is Penn State continuing their research? And is the National Institute of Health, the CDC, anybody else, is there other grant money going into more research in Pennsylvania in regards to CBD?
I can't comment officially. I'm sure there are, and it's certainly the program that Dr. Lee was talking about, the CR, the clinical registrant programs, they're being developed. with some of the eight medical schools in Pennsylvania. But there's certainly other groups and other institutions around the world studying this. And this is not just a Pennsylvania or a United States. This is a global phenomenon, both medical cannabis of, again, high and low THC cannabis. That's really the way to talk about it. Using the word marijuana has really just kind of become passé. It's not accurate. High and low THC cannabis is really the accurate way to talk about these products.
Well, and I did note that the medical marijuana, a lot of the research was done in Israel, and they seem to be a real leader in
Yes.
anything in medicine and technology. So thank you very much. Are there any other questions or comments? Gentlemen, we truly appreciate your testimony, your knowledge of this subject. You have far more knowledge than we do on this matter. So if we were to move forward on anything, certainly hope that you would be there for us to consult with and in the near future. If we are looking at any type of legislation or regulation. At this point, we have not really discussed that, and I said that at the very beginning. This was an informational hearing, and we did receive a lot of valuable information today, and for that I thank all of the panel members here today, and certainly this is a subject that we need to be looking at, observing for the benefit of the people of Pennsylvania. Thank you for being here today. Thank you, members. And we do have another hearing next week with the subcommittee, and we will be sharing more information about that later. So, but thank you, gentlemen, for being here. Thank you. Thank you, Secretary Swathmeyer. I think you're still here, or you are.
I see Steve Groff.